Shanti talks. All right. Go ahead, please.
这个中美佛教会和这个佛教讲堂金刚菩提海。
Our Chinese American Buddhist Association, Buddhist Lecture Hall, and Vajra Bodhi Sea.
Okay, so what Master YongHua is lecture hall, Buddhist lecture hall, because it's basically an older building with a big room, and they weren't licensed to be a church, so that's why they cannot be called a church or a temple. Now, most monks get their start. They get the space when they start operating until they could afford to get a temple, a real temple. So back then, that's how it is, how it was. Master YongHua had a lot of disciples, but they basically didn't have a real temple at all. Actually, they were struggling financially. And then he also founded the Vajra Bodhi Sea, which is a monthly journal, I think. So they publish they printed something, some kind of magazine every month. They have articles of his teachings, sutra lectures, and various topics. So that's why it is Vajra Bodhi Sea. That's it's still existing. It still exists nowadays.
这3个名字现在在美国都很不美的啊。有的人说他是厉害，这是一个不美。
These 3 names are not beautiful in America now. Somebody said it's fierce. This is one not beautiful.
You see, so nowadays he's referring to these names, and the names are not beautiful. It's true. The names are not beautiful at all. It's nonsense. Except for Vajra Bodhi Sea is a beautiful name, but no one understands it. And the other is just too Chinese. The two names are too Chinese. So, but then he says, someone says it's fierce. He says this person here looks beyond the names. He said, this is the beginning of something, a very powerful movement, Buddhist movement in the United States. That's what he meant by that.
有的人呢，就说他修行太认真了，一般人呢做不到，尤其末法的时代，这也是一个不美。
Somebody said its cultivation is too serious. Normal people can't do it, especially during the Dharma ending era. This is also one not beautiful.
See, so this is the emphasis of Master YongHua's teachings. He teaches people to cultivate. It's about spiritual practices. And the spiritual practices that he brought to the United States were not easy. It's not for everyone. Okay. So this is quite revolutionary in that sense. Before that, people will go to the temple in the United States, and it's more or less a social occasion, maybe some prayers, but primarily it's a social occasion where you get to gather and talk to your friends and so forth. Get a break from the family or from your daily lives. But it's more or less a place of worship and social places especially for the places that are run by non-monks and nuns. A lot of Asian people have created an association where they could create a temple run by lay people, and so to serve their communities, to serve, let's say, the Sri Lankans or serve the Chao people and so forth. Okay, it's very ethnic oriented. So basically, social clubs, okay, with spiritual activities, worship activities. But Master Hsien-Hua, when he started teaching, he would lecture on the sutras, would give lectures and teach meditation and train people how to cultivate, which is really unprecedented. He says, actually, it's very difficult for most people, and normal people could not do it, especially who would dare promote real cultivation in a Dharma ending era where no one cultivates anymore. So he's going against the flow. He's doing something that's not popular. It's not widely accepted as a norm. Okay, so it goes right there to show you that it's an act of wisdom. Let's continue and see.
有的人就说：“你这么样认真去做，你们这么样子来修行。”
Some people also said, "You are doing this so seriously. You cultivate like this."
You see, he started out with no one. He came to the United States by himself with $10,000, $15,000 he got from selling his condo in Hong Kong. This condo in Hong Kong was offered to him by one of his devoted Hong Kong disciples, who says, "You better not sell this because this is a very good property, good investment." And Master Hsien decided to sell it anyway. Okay, and then so his disciple had to buy it back from him. So it's a funny relationship. And he took the money here, and he stayed rented a room somewhere in Chinatown, San Francisco and stayed in that basement for 6 years, meditating and waiting for conditions to ripen. And so people would stop him in the streets as he's walking, and they would say, "Oh, you're a monk?" And I say, "Yeah, I'm a monk." And then these old women in San Francisco, Chinatown, would say, "Where do you live? Can I come and give you some vegetables?" I say, "Oh, yeah, absolutely. Come and give me some vegetables." No cultivation. But eventually, he got these support to get these old buildings, and he started teaching people, and then he got more and more people to come and practice. And actually, the thing about cultivation is that with the proper training, you get such good results, you get such great benefits. That's why more and more people came and cultivated with him. because they liked it and they told their friends and their families and their relatives and so forth. So more and more people came. But you see, the point I'm trying to make is that that purpose of teaching people how to cultivate was never lost in his efforts. He just waited for the conditions to be right, to teach people how to cultivate, how to practice. And so he started this very proud tradition in Mahayana Buddhism, where our purpose somehow got lost. Our purpose is to train you how to cultivate. Our purpose to train you. Not hide in that building. He got the building to train people. And when more and more people came and he got more support, and he bought more and more properties in order to train more people. So founded this Varshabodhi Sea to start propagating the Mahayana principles. Okay, and this Buddhist lecture hall is actually also serves as a place where people would learn Chinese, learn how to meditate, and listen to sutra lectures as well. So it's a multi-purpose area. Okay, although it's really not legal use of the property, proper use of the property. Okay. Again, our tradition is to train people. Our responsibility is to train people. Those who wish to be trained, we create these places to train people who wish to be trained. And that's why the average individual will look at us, who hears about us and say, oh, this is too extreme, this is too difficult. So actually, back then, 25 years ago, when I got into this world, we were pretty famous. The DRBA were very, very famous because basically, Master YongHua's temple, CTTB, City 10,000 Buddhas, Gold Mountain Monastery in San Francisco, were the places there. The rumor has it, it's these people cultivate over there. Okay, so when you go there, it says you are tough cookie. You a lay person, you are like some cool dudes and dudettes, if you will. Okay? So it was cool. It was really, really cool. And after my master died, that CTTB slowly became a place of a tourist, where people go there on the weekend to have a drive and have a meal and then go back home. But originally, the intent of this space chart was to train people. All right? It's our responsibility and receive support to get these way places. It's in order to train people who wish to be trained. That's how we pay back. Okay? And just a reminder to all of you how difficult it was for him to get started. Very, very difficult. Okay? No one knew him. No one took him seriously. Didn't go around and promote himself, asking for donations, asking for support, asking to, trying to impress people. When people came to him, he simply said, look at them and say, okay, you have this problem, I help you fix it. Okay, that's it. So in that same spirit, I'm very pleased that this year, since we're towards the end of the year, I had started thinking about what did we do this year? What have we accomplished? Have we done enough. So this year we're able, miraculously, been able to get a branch temple started in Korea. Okay, actually a temple, not a Buddhist lecture hall. Actually, we have a license to operate as a temple. That's incredible. In a span of 4 or 5 months, we're able to get it up and running. And so it shows you the kind of support we got from Korea, and the faithful there are very, very, very sincere. And that's why the response, it's not us, it's about them. You know, in our world, we go and establish a way place, it's because we asked to go there. We don't just sit here and plan, next month I will invade China, Shanghai, and then after that, let's take over Paris, where they have good bread and cheese. We don't do that. We simply wait for conditions to ripen, meaning that the local people are interested in cultivation. So they ask us to go over there to teach them how to cultivate and use the Dharma to benefit their communities, their countries. And that's what we did in Korea. So I'm very grateful for that. I'm very grateful that we got support and go over there. And so far, we've been able to help train a handful of people. It's true to our purpose. It's true to the patriarch's intention. Our jobs is to train people. Even in this Dharma ending age, people can still get enlightened. All right? So I ask you, third generation, to never forget this, okay? We get our mission. Our mission is to help others in a very simple way, a very humble way, to teach them how to cultivate. All right? YouTube has a question.
Yeah, Alta-D asks, I told a Christian person about cause and effect, and she told me she doesn't believe in that. She believes in grace, meaning that she believes that the reason things happen to us is because events are meant to teach us something. What is your opinion on that?
They have their own beliefs, and that's fine. They should stick their own beliefs. We have different beliefs. We believe in cause and effect. Nothing wrong with that. Nothing wrong with their believing differently. That's what makes the world go round. It's okay. We don't need to convince others that we are right or something like that. We should accept people as who they are. That's what Buddhism is about, is to share what we know and still respect them. That's why a lot of these people said a lot of nonsense to me. In the end, I couldn't convince them otherwise. I said, well, we have to, I have to respectfully disagree with you, okay? In the end, I feel from what I know is that you're wrong. And these are not in there. These are even Buddhist disciples. And in the end, I know you're wrong, and someday in the future, you will find that out for yourself. But today, I still respect you. It's okay. It's not a problem. We should embrace people's erroneous beliefs. It's perfectly okay. Okay? It's no different than for these people who have those wrong beliefs as you. We try to teach you the profound principles, and you don't get it. It's not that much different. We still embrace you and say, we still respect you. It's still tomorrow. It's still the day after tomorrow. We're very patient. When the time is right, you will get it. It's okay. Continue.
俺们呀，比较起来是要没有饭吃，这你们岂不是啊，令俺们饿死了？
Compared with us, we won't have food to eat. This way, you will make us starve to death.
And then also this tradition is that he taught classes for free. He taught people for free, and then comes lunchtime, the food was free. So if the days when there wasn't enough rice, they basically serve it to the lay people, and they will eat less or fast for the day. Okay. Now you understand why he taught fasting very quickly in the early days. Very useful skill to have. Okay.
俺们再用俺们那种老方法去骗人去，骗不了了，所以呀，他也说这个名字不美。
When we use our old method to con people again, can't con people anymore, so they also say our name is not beautiful.
So eventually, that's a problem. When you con people, eventually they catch on. So that's the way it is. For the outsiders, they said, how can you believe in this cause and effect, or meditate? What's the point of wasting your time like that? So it's okay if whatever they want to call us, whatever they want to say about us, it's perfectly okay. No need to get afflicted.
不美呢，这是这个有一些人这么说，但是有的人呢就说我们是最第一。
Not beautiful. Some people say as such, but some people say we are most number one.
有的人呢又说我们这是最修行，有的人又说我们这个是最美的。
Some people also said we have the most cultivation. Some people also said ours is the most beautiful.
Yeah, so back then, the insiders, those who somehow managed to follow the instructions on how to practice, they got some real great benefits themselves, so they like it. So they say that's cultivation, okay, and that's wonderful, that's beautiful. So. And that's the other aspect of his work, is that if you understand how to cultivate, how to practice your spiritual path, okay, the spiritual path, then you get real benefits yourself. And you will know. There's no need to worry about it. And that's what I'm very grateful to him. He sets example for us to say, just cultivate, don't worry. Don't try to to get more disciples or try to draw attention to yourself, just practice. Okay? And the proof is that eventually, when you have the skills to help others and to benefit society, society will support you. It's that simple. Why worry about it? We're not in the business of selling ourselves. We're not in the business of promoting ourselves, of proving anything. Okay, which is really, really unusual, because most monks and nuns, most temples would have to worry about the books. You know, there's expenses, there's mortgages, there's you have to pay for water, pay for garbage collection, all those things, and so there's reality, okay, and those realities create tremendous financial pressures on these monks and nuns, on those people, and even then he didn't have much money. I figure probably maybe the $15,000 he got from Hong Kong is probably spent on supporting his people, making sure they have enough food or clothes or whatever for a while, and then eventually it runs out. It ran out. It's so cool, and to me, this is such a gift to us from my generation. I loved it. You know, you teach by example. You can't. In Buddhism, you teach by example. You ask people to do things, you're supposed to do it yourself, too. Okay, so this is why. When I was very lucky to hear about this story when I first started, when I left the association, the ERBA, I had no really direct, not much direct instruction from my late master. So I listened to these tapes because no one told me about these before. And it made such a deep impression on me that somehow I couldn't formulate it, but somehow I was very proud to walk the same path that he did when he first came to this country. So back then, 20 years ago, I had to do the same thing too. I had to walk the same path. Zero, start out zero, nothing at all. The difference is that he had the skills when he first came here. 20 years ago, I had zero skills. Well, not quite true. 20 years ago, I was crazy. I cannot take failure, accept failure at all. So, continue, please.
究竟哪个说的是对，哪个说的是不对？有智慧的人自然能分别出来。
Ultimately, who said it right? Who said it wrong? The ones with wisdom can distinguish naturally.
愚痴人呢，人家说的对，他就是，人说不对。
The stupid people, if others say it is right, he would say, "Oh, yes, yes."
And again, he used the word wisdom. I would not call his disciples back then as the kinds of people who have wisdom. Okay, what did they know? You can't call those, sitting for a few hours, a few days, or a few months, a few years as saying you have wisdom. Not quite, but I think he's referring to is the fact those people who actually practice, and they got some really some really good benefits for themselves. They can see for themselves. So that's concrete benefits to them. So to use the word wisdom would be stretching it. This is very made. It's the most beautiful. Who says right? I said the one of wisdom. Those 有智慧的人, and this is too much. Back then, those people really don't have any wisdom. Now they do. Okay.
是啊，不是，就是人云亦云，因为什么呢？
If others say it is wrong, he would say, "Oh, no, no, no." He says what others say. Why is it so?
就是因为他没有智慧力，不能判断是非。
Just because he doesn't have wisdom power, can't distinguish or decide right or wrong.
所以呀、就听人随便云云呢，说哦那个地方不美啊，他就不美了。
So heard others casual saying, also say, "Oh, that place is not beautiful." Then he is not beautiful.
人人都不相信，咱们这儿坐21个钟头，啊，不但人人不相信，恐怕我们坐21个钟头的人自己也不相信。
Nobody believes we sit here for 21 hours. Not only nobody believes, I'm afraid the ones who sit for 21 hours don't believe themselves either.
Okay, so you see, the last 2 weeks we learned about Master Ling Yo, the Wei Shan, Wei Shan Master Wei Shan, and he looked at the principles he taught. He taught very advanced principles because his disciples were very advanced. Okay? That's why he had to teach them like that. In contrast, look at Master YongHua disciples. When he first started, see how tough it was? It's so difficult. Yeah? But he had to teach these people from zero to get started. So what did he do? He taught them how to sit for 21 hours. That's interesting, because you think that you go easy, right? You don't, these smart Alex know too much. They cannot sit for 21 hours if you don't want to scare them. No, he actually told them they could sit for 21 hours, and they did. Remember Heng Lai? He says, Master told us that we could sit for, we would sit for do a long sit. So he said, I would sit for, Heng Lai would sit for, Master Heng Lai would sit for 21 hours. It's doable. And that's what he said himself, Master Heng Lai. He says he was afraid he couldn't sit for 21 hours. But lo and behold, he was able to after a while. That's incredible. That's a miracle right there. You know how tough it is to sit 21 hours? You can break your legs if you're not careful. Okay? So he had to start from square one. Cross your legs and sit for 21 hours. Whereas Master Lingyo, his disciples were from the other temples, from the other great masters, who have been monks for years already, who trained, who practiced Chan already, received Chan training already. All right? So there's a difference in disciples. Big difference in disciples. Jewel Mountain question.
Jewel Mountain asks, did he mean 21 hours like Chan Chi schedule or 21 hours straight without unbuckling?
Good question. I wasn't there, so I don't know. But this happened during a Chan Chi. My reference is one of the tapes we listened to before the Chan Chi here, last couple of months. We listened to Master Heng Lai on Master YongHua disciples, second generation, like me, and who says, who said that he was doing a Chan Chi, and Master YongHua told him to sit for 21 hours. So he said, I thought I couldn't sit, but eventually I was able to sit for 21 hours. Okay, that's what he said. All right. Plus the fact that when he was, and he also said as well on those tapes that he would stand up and walk. So the answer is they don't sit 21 hours straight like that. They sit 1 hour and then walk for whatever, how long it was, 15 minutes, 20 minutes. That's what they did. Okay, and it's a lot harder than it sounds because eventually, as most of you found out when you do a Chan Chi, is that the pressure builds up, even though you stand up and walk around. Eventually, towards the end of the day, you can't take it anymore. The pain accumulates to the point where it becomes unbearable. Okay, so even with that schedule, 21 hours with the with the regular Chan schedule, it is still very, very tough to do, especially for the Caucasians. They're not built like this. The Asians are different. The Caucasians are a lot more civilized. I'm from a boat people generation, I didn't cross the ocean by boat. I flew over the ocean. But, my heritage is boat people, so we can take the beating. At least my peers. So it's in our genes. We can get abused. But for Heng Lai to sit for 21 hours like that, I was impressed. I said, you don't look like that type. You're weak. But anyway, so Master YongHua is an incredible teacher. Trust me. He can get them to do this. That's unbelievable.
为什么呢？他是做不了，这是办不到的事情。所以在没开始以前，有好几个人对我讲，就说怕。
Okay, yes, go ahead.
Why is that? Said they can't sit. This is impossible. So before we started, a few people told me, they said, afraid.
Yeah, of course, people are afraid. That's normal. You see, so what's implied here, my interpretation is that he had a room full of these YongHua. Can I use the word white people? Is it too discriminatory, too racist? White people. We're yellow people. Okay? These white people. And they're going crazy, right? They say, oh my God, I'm sitting here, my legs are hurting like crazy, and I have all these problems. My point is that I imagine back then, when you sit for 21 hours like that, you're going to have all kinds of problems, all sorts of problems. Skin is breaking and so forth. And he's the one, the only way for them to keep doing for 21 hours is that he has to resolve all those questions. Right? You're going to sit there for 21 hours, your mind would go berserk if you sit that long, continuously. Even with a break, your mind still would go crazy. So it has all these fears, it has all these trepidations, it has its complaints. It says, my neighbor now is snoring, and I remember I was at the Chanchi, and they have this Chinese spy, Buddhist spy, who went to the CTTB, and senior spy. So he was there, and this guy doesn't meditate, doesn't cultivate, but he's a superior yellow man, if you will. He would follow our schedule. 3 a.m. until midnight, he would follow the schedule. Can you imagine? The guy who never meditated before. He would shave his head, put on some clothes, looks like a Chinese monk. And you can tell he's not Chinese because he walks funny, he moves funny. For us professionals, even though I was just a novice, but you live in there for a year, and you can tell that's not how monks walk. It's not how monks talk. It's not how we bow. So he went to a crash course of training. So you bow, on the surface, look just like a monk. But for us, I could tell myself, no, you're not. So, amazingly, this guy followed our schedule. Was in the back of the monastery. He sat next to this American monk, and who taught at the boys' school. So he would sit there when he could, when he's not teaching. He didn't have classes to prepare for class. He would go there and meditate, because he teaches meditation every day for 15 minutes to the kids. And back then, immediately, as a side comment, why would we teach only 15 minutes? Are you kidding me? Make them suffer. These white boys. Anyway, so he sat, the two of them sat together, and I was on the other side where I was able to sit for long sits and not get up. These people have to get up. Right, I sat right next to the abbot. So he and I was sit for several hours until he has to quit and go to work. And so this monk here, this fake Chinese monk here, he would follow our schedule. I was so impressed. I look at him, see. Of course, I'm curious. Curiosity kills the cat. So I had to look at what he's doing. I was very curious. And so I look at him and say, there's no way you can sit in full lotus. Impossible. But you cannot tell, right? If I go down like this, right now I'm full lotus. Now I'm not anymore. Can you tell? Of course not. If you have a blanket around your legs, it's impossible to tell. So I knew he wasn't sitting in full lotus. I said, fine, I can buy that. But how can you sit for 14 to 16 hours a day like that when you have no training and you're a spy. You know, your mind is plotting and scheming and all these things. So what did he do? I have so much respect for this guy. I learned so much from this guy. So later, after I saw all the spies, oh, no wonder he's like on the top and you are, you know, where you are. And you need to salute him when you see him. Saw all those things. Anyway, so what did he do? He recited Buddhist sutras. He's a superior master spy, he asked me. Of course, they don't recite sutras as part of their daily lives, right? On their daily work, they don't recite sutras. So he's there, what did he do? He took our Buddhist sutras and read them all day. So guess what? We forced him to read sutras. So he thought he would outsmart Master YongHua and his disciples. You know, actually they came in, they had to read Buddhist sutras all day. So he's creating so many blessings for himself. Reading Buddhist sutras, it's a lot of blessings, trust me, folks. Okay, a lot more listening to my Dharma, my Dharma talks. That's for sure. Real principles, not just BS stories. and so he was like, but you know, the problem is that he's really not a monk, so he didn't know. So he read sutras, but he read them aloud. So he said, after a while, you know, if you don't make sound, you go crazy. You see, we're trained to recite without sounds. Yes? Did we teach you that? Just checking. You know, but the guy who's never received training. So he, after a while, after a few hours, you know, he started. So during the sits, we can hear, because it's a big hall that the Thakala monastery is about, slightly bigger than our Buddha hall. No. If you combine all this, parlor is about the same size. Maybe about, maybe almost the same size. They have a huge building. They have so much. Anyway, so he started making noises, and we could hear him. You know, and we're cool when you do chanties and people snore and people things like that. You don't say anything. You take it. Okay, so you don't say anything. But remember that white monk? He sat right next to him every day. I have to listen to him recite the sutras every day in this Chinese accent, okay? A very heavy Chinese accent. After about 3 or 4 days, something happened. Guess what? In the midst of the sit, I tell you, who says life is so boring? I mean, Changchi is so in the midst of the sit, suddenly that white monk started screaming and yelling, "Why you keep on reciting?" And he took his whatever, you know, the blanket he has and started beating on the partition. Back then, you know, we spoiled, you know. We have tatamis, real tatamis, like this, okay, offered to us from China or somewhere, Taiwan or somewhere. Between each tatami here, each size here, individual size like this, 3 by 3 feet, okay? We have partitions like this, okay? So you cannot see your neighbor. So you have this facing the wall, okay? And you have partition like this. We are so well taken care of. We have everything we needed to do a chanchi. So the guy would, that white monk would stand up and took out his blanket and started beating on the partition between them and said, "Why you keep on reciting sutra? You're not supposed to recite sutras. You're driving me crazy. Get out of here." In English. And the other guy looked at him quietly. "Oh, okay." Coolly. So it's the white monk who received training who finally gave up, couldn't take it anymore. See, that's why I have so much respect for that master spy. He could take it, but we couldn't. And that monk has followed Master YongHua for over 10 years. Couldn't take it. So I know, I tell you a funny story to tell you, during a chanchi, you have a lot of pressure that builds up inside. You go crazy. Okay? So for that, for his disciples, for those people to be able to sit for 21 hours like that, for weeks, okay? Master YongHua have to really hold them by the hands and say, "Son, don't worry, don't go crazy, it's okay, don't worry, it's a good thing. My point here is that to teach people how to meditate, initially, you have to hold the hands, do a lot of hand holding. You don't know how to do hand holding, you cannot teach people how to meditate. Is it clear? And then that's why it surprises me why Master YongHua never really taught them how to do hand holding, to encourage, outsiders to meditate. It takes a lot of hand holding initially. Agree or disagree? Okay, comment from YouTube.
Brady says, "I never considered myself more civilized than Asians."
Hallelujah. That's because you're not Chinese enough. The Chinese think they're more civilized, the best of the Asians. Yes, YouTube has a question.
Yeah, Alta-D asks, why were they spying?
I don't know. You have to ask them. I have no ideas. I do, but none of my business to make comments like that. It's a Chinese thing. Who cares? Chinese, Vietnamese thing. Yeah. It's okay. Okay? Just embrace them all. When they come in and they have to recite sutras. But so he intrigued me, so I observed him. I learned a lot from that guy. I learned so much. I'd say, wow, no wonder you're a master spy. Okay, continue, please.
我就告诉你了，不要怕，试试看。咱们现在一试，有的当然是还是觉得很辛苦，有的觉得很不错的。
I then told him, "Don't be afraid, give it a try. We try it now. Some, of course, still felt very toilsome. Some felt very good."
You see, I jumped the gun a little bit. So you see, he had to hold the hand. So I said, don't be afraid, It's okay. That's what has to happen. And that's why, if you don't know how to do that, You cannot teach people how to meditate. This is why later on, my generation, they don't do that anymore. That's why the third generation don't know how to do it properly. Okay? Continue.
有的就在这个21个钟头啊，觉得不是很长的时间。有的在这21个钟头，觉得比做监还辛苦。
Some also in this 21 hours felt it's not a very long time. Some in this 21 hours felt it's harder than being in jail.
所以这就是个人呢受用不同。有的人得到这个禅悦为食了，吃不吃东西都没有问题了。只要坐禅就好了。
So this is everybody's benefit is different. Some gain Chan bliss as food. Whether to eat or not eat is no problem. Just sit Chan is good.
有的人呢得到一种不可思议的境界。我要知道坐禅这么好，我为什么不早一点就坐禅呢？
Some people obtained a type of inconceivable state, said, sitting Chan is so good. I want to know why wouldn't I sit Chan earlier?
Why didn't I?
Why didn't I sit Chan earlier?
有的人呢没有得到这个坐禅的好处，这个有什么意思？
Some people didn't obtain the benefit from sitting Chan. What's the point in this?
有种种不同的想法。一个人的境界不同，所以一个人的想法也不同。
This is different types of thinking. Everybody's state is different, so everybody's thinking is also different.
Okay, time is up, I guess. Let me take a peek and see, should we continue try to finish a block? Instead of trying to start over again the next time? Is it okay? Let me take a peek. Okay, let's go to 128, please.
不论这个境界同不同，等你成功了的时候，都是一样的，都是开大智慧的。
No matter this state is the same or not, till the time when you succeed is all the same. You all are the ones who open great wisdom.
现在得到好处的，继续往前用功。
The ones who gained benefit now should continue to move forward and apply effort. The ones who didn't gain benefit now should also continue to apply effort.
See, so what he means is don't quit. Because what he's implied is that just because you struggle so much, look around. There's some others who didn't struggle, who got a lot out of it. Okay, so don't quit. And that's the advantages of practicing in a group, because you can look around you and get indirect support. It says, for me, for example, personally, I look at people and say, if you can do it, so can I. Okay? And I would try to figure out why that a person can do it and I can't. It's just my nature. Okay? But so the advantage is that versus sitting at home or sitting by yourself is that you don't get the benefit of looking at others around you who are worse off than you or better off than you. Okay, so that's your advantages. For the last 15 years, we train a lot of people, and you look around and you see that there's people at low level and people very, very, very high level as well. As now we're going on, was it our second week or third week? I don't remember. Anyone keeps track? Third week, right? Yeah, we're doing our third week of Chan Chi, so 7 more to go. I don't know I can make it. But when I was there, the Chan Chi is so a special time for us because they basically locked up everything, dropped everything, and the whole temple meditated. So at this time of the year, in a city of 10,000 Buddhas, it's very cold. You're cold. The only warm thing you have during the day is what? Anyone takes a wild guess. It's cold 24 hours a day except for one time. Anyone? Xian Tong, do you know when can you get some warm, some heat? Huh? That's right. Everyone gets a bowl of soup. And you hold in your hands, or some coffee or some tea, something you hold in your hands. Okay? So we all look forward to lunch. That's the only break we have where it's warm. And then later, in the Tathagata monastery in the basement, where basement where lay people live, men live, and laymen live, and second floor is where the monks live and trainees live. So in the basement, it was too tough for them, so they would have a fire, okay, in the basement. We would burn a wood fire. We have lots of trees, so burn wood fire, and it's a social event. They would gather there, and they don't say much. You stand there in samadhi. We would sneak. I would sneak by. Just you would not believe it. Just a few minutes of warmth. It feels so happy. It feels so good. So it's tough. But during the Chan Chi, you feel warm. You don't feel cold anymore. The concentration is not from you. It's from the people who gathered in that Tathagata monastery, or the men, lay people who were meditating during the day. That concentration heats up the entire building. Isn't that interesting? And you feel so peaceful. So that's what's so cool about it. Okay, I can't say the same thing here. Because it doesn't seem like you're meditating at all, except for one. But we have excuses, right? Many of you are fasting, so you say, I don't feel good, so. Actually, can you tell it's more peaceful? Anyway, go on. Last one for the evening.
得到好处的也应该继续用功。你能继续用功，一定会有一天满你所希望的这种的愿。所以呢，要努力用功，自己才能得到真实的受用。
If you can continue to apply effort, there must be a day will your wish be fulfilled. So need to apply effort vigorously, then yourself can obtain true benefit.
Okay, final comment of the evening. It sounds very simple. Sounds like it's no big deal about this at all. But you know, after I decided to leave the association, I went to other places, other temples, where they also practice vigorously as well. Went to Chanchi in Hong Kong, and stayed for a few days and so forth. Went to Chanchi in Hong Kong, downtown Hong Kong, in Paolin, of Master Sheng Yi's Chanchi, what they did 100 days, which I believe they still do, 100 days of Chan every year. And so I went to those places and trying to look for a place where we can pursue my spiritual practice. And I couldn't find anything. It looks the same, it sounds the same, similar schedule, similar sitting, you sit in full lotus, and so forth. But it's not, after I tried all those places, very briefly, and I realized what Master YongHua did in the Chanchi is quite a lot more behind the scenes than people realize. It's not something you go there and you look at the schedule and look at how we do it for a while and then come back and do the same thing. No. What's different is, number one, the environment. Okay? It's so much calmer than even Master Sheng Yi was there. Master YongHua died already when I was doing the Chanchis. Okay. Master Sheng Yi is a 6th ground Bodhisattva. He was there in his temple, Paoli, in Lantau Island. It doesn't feel, Sheng is sagely, Yi is number one. So he passed already. And it's not the same, and it's not the same feel because it's there. It's like the traditional Chinese where they have a Chan monastery. He erected a Chan monastery, and all they did was to meditate. Okay, they eat funny. It's a different story. Funny way of eating. Actually, more swallowing than eating. No chewing, like a dog. So later I realized that couldn't find anywhere of the caliber of the Chanchi of the city of 10,000 Buddhas. Okay, even the Chanchi we organized at Long Beach Monastery for the trainees is a farce. Okay, it's a grandstanding. It's like put on a show to impress lay people, to provide support for it. But the training at the city of 10,000 Buddhas, the environment is quite something else. And I can only imagine when Master Xinhua was alive and was conducting these things, these chanties, would be an incredible experience. Let me assure you that none of us has the blessings to be able to take advantage of it. Okay, and I would not be surprised that during those chanties, so many beings came participate with him right there in the San Francisco Chinatown. They all came from far away worlds, much farther than Voyager, is it 4 or 5 nowadays? Oh, can travel, came to San Francisco Chinatown, okay, and meditated. Same thing happened in the city of 10,000 Buddhas, okay? Even though he was dead, well, you couldn't see he was there as well. And then all these people came. The bodhisattvas came because back then the human participants level is too low. That's why the whole building heated up is from those. Cool? You like my gossiping? The story behind the story. Now, even them people don't know. It's so cool. So you see, Master Xinhua's state is incredible. He was helping so many people. And that's why when he organizes these events, these cultivation events, they came as many as clouds on a rainy Monday afternoon in Rosemead. Isn't that cool? Yes, question. White.
Master, you said that these beings from far away, so that means they must be very high level beings.
Yeah.
That comes.
Very high level.
Okay, and
that tells you how much higher Master Xinhua is.
Yes. So my question is, you spoke of finding good non-advisor. So at that moment, if those people show up, and if we able to see them, can we ask them to become a good non-advisor?
No, they're not there to be a good non-advisor. They're there to learn.
They wouldn't accept any disciple or anything like that?
They wouldn't dare. They're his disciples. They say, what would you learn? Learn from me. Learn from him.
But these are higher beings, which mean they could be higher than Master YongHua, right?
Some are higher, but they say, I don't want to waste time with these low-level people. Let YongHua do it. You see, we all have our missions. Okay, we all are, part of this big picture that's going on. Of course. If you deserve to be taught, you don't need to be a disciple. Just come and help us. You're not taught yet is because you feel you're not taught it because you're not doing it. You're not doing everything you've been told yet. There's nothing to talk about. All right? I see where you're coming from. But the answer is that is that we belong to this Wei-Yang training system here. They started from Master Ling Yo, Master Yang Shan. What's his name? Anyway, we find out soon what Master Yang Shan's Dharma name was before he became Yang Shan. And then, so they have this system of training that people, so they take care of their own kinds. Okay, rest assured of that. Just make yourself worthy to be taught, you be taught. It's not uncommon for I remember, that being told that, they went to, this Bodhisattva came to the city of 10,000 Buddhas to recite the Buddha's name. Okay? I look at their assembly, looking back at the assembly we had, but this Bodhisattva came, and then he was reciting, and very, very, very respectfully followed the schedule. The schedule is put there, posted there, for a purpose. So he followed the schedule every single time. And whatever the schedule was, follow the schedule. Eventually, a higher level Bodhisattva came and taught him how to recite the Buddha's name. He said, "No, son, you're doing it wrong. Here, do it this way." What is it? I ain't telling you. Have you done it? What did you do to deserve to be taught? Don't worry. We have our network of trainers. It's a community effort. It's not just Master YongHua's. But he is so big that he has plenty of disciples from all over. So every time you organize a Dharma assembly, they came. To support it, some come to support it. Because you look at those humans and say, "Oh, okay, well, I'm here to raise your samadhi level a little bit of the area," and so forth. Some others came to cultivate. Okay, some are much higher than Master YongHua would come to help him teach the disciples of Master YongHua. The Master YongHua has not figured out how to teach yet. He had to come and teach them. Okay? At Master YongHua's level, it's no longer his work. It's like a lot of people supporting him, below and above. All right? Okay, we stop here tonight. Thank you all.